How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to Rangers Rundown. I am very excited to start a new season of Rangers hockey and to get this channel back up and running. I'm going to do my best to catch as many Rangers games as I can and get content up on the channel. The games that I can't watch live, I'll do my best to record and then watch after. I am going to see 5 Rangers games live this year, so hopefully I'll be able to sneak a little bit of video for those and get that up on the channel, but I'm very excited to get this back up and running, and I hope you are too. But with that said, let's look at this Rangers team, where they are now, and what we can expect from them over this season. So just a quick look back in time to last season. The Rangers are 27, 23, and 6 for 60 points, landing them 5th in the Eastern Division last year, that awkward Eastern Division schedule that we had last year. Power play, 20.7%, which was 14th in the NHL at the time. Penalty kill, 28.3%, which was 10th in the NHL. Goals for, 176, which was again 10th. And goals against, which was 155, landing them at 13th in the league. Now, all of these stats would show you that was a pretty good team. They were above average in almost every category last year, which should have landed them in the playoffs if they were in any other division. But since they were in arguably the most competitive division in the league, they landed just outside the playoffs and not making it to the postseason. But looking forward to this year, pretty much an entirely new coaching staff. We had that kind of landfall of coaches leaving over the summer, which took some of us by surprise, just everybody just getting fired and leaving. Now we have Gerard Gallant at the helm. I think the feeling is that he's going to be a better head coach than David Quinn. David Quinn, obviously, coming into the NHL, this was his first NHL team, so there was a bit of a learning curve. Some people didn't really like his style. Some of the players maybe not even liking his style. So far, what I've seen from Gerard Gallant, I'm remaining optimistic. It seems like some of the guys are taking more to his not looser style of play, but more room for the players to actually do what they're good at, whereas David Quinn really trying to smash those puzzle pieces into sometimes the wrong slot. We have Gord Murphy, formerly from the Hartford Wolfpack. He assisted Chris Knoblauch during that period of time where David Quinn had COVID last year, and Chris Knoblauch took over the team. Gord Murphy was a part of that crew, which did pretty well in Quinn's absence. Then we have Mike Kelly, who is a longtime assistant of Gerard Gallant. They work closely together in all 3 of Gerard Gallant's former coaching positions. We have Jim Midgley, who was most recently a scout for the Philadelphia Flyers. And then, of course, we still have, thankfully, Benoit Allaire, who is one of the better goalie coaches in the league, working with Shesterkin, who is one of the better goalies in the league. So hopefully that relationship continues to grow and we see some really good things from both of them this season. Some notable exits from the team. The Buchnevich trade, where we sent him off to St. Louis for a bag of pucks. That was not a trade that I think a lot of Rangers fans were happy with, nor really should they be. You know, Chris Drury says, we're going to lose part of our top 6, but we're going to gain a part of our top 6 back. That was one of the things he was chanting in this offseason. We're going to add a top 6 piece. We are days away from starting the season, and we haven't added that top 6 piece. We've added a lot of bottom 6 pieces, which you can argue one way or the other makes the team better. They're definitely tougher to play against, which I guess was the goal. But we haven't really added that top 6 piece. Yeah, we got Gaudreau, who's a very great defensive forward, but if you're looking at him to score 20, 25 goals, then you're a little delusional, because that's not his style. That's not what he plays. So Buchnevich out of the team. Wish him well in St. Louis. It'll be fun to play against him, and he'll probably score against us, but that's okay. We'll root for him anyway. Blackwell was taken in the expansion draft to Seattle. He did really well for us last year, but we didn't think he was a long-term piece anyway, so good luck in Seattle. Brendan Smith left as a UFA. He's now with the Carolina Hurricanes. Di Giuseppe also left as a UFA. He's now in the Vancouver organization. And then Howden, we sent to Vegas for Nick DeSimone and a 2022 fourth round pick. So to all of those players, best of luck, and we'll see you when we play against you. But the entrances, Sammy Blais, who we got in the Buchnevich trade, if this was a 1-for-1, we would be irate. We did get other things. I think we got a pick in the Sammy Blais Buchnevich trade. We got Blais and a pick, which was a nice consolation prize for getting rid of a top 6 forward. We weren't quite sure how Blais was going to do in training camp and in the preseason. He's actually done pretty well. He is that strong, tough forward that he thought he was. He did score a couple times in the preseason, I think once or twice. So looking forward to see how he slots in. I have him slotted in on the 4th line. We'll see how long he stays there and if he goes down to Hartford or what happens there. And then Gaudreau, which was, I think, the best piece that the Rangers picked up this offseason. We got his rights from the Tampa Bay Lightning for a 2022 7th round pick. We just got the rights to talk to him first. And then, of course, he did end up signing here for 6 years, I believe the deal was, which a lot of people were, the fandom was split. It was like $3 million for 6 years. And, you know, if you think of that trade as 2-3-year contracts, I think it softens the kind of the burden of that of a 6-year time frame for a player like Gaudreau, because we're going to get probably 3 solid years from him. And then 3 years, $3 million per, that's a pretty easy contract to move if the Rangers choose to go that way. So if you think about it as 2-3-year trades or 2-3-year contracts, I think it kind of lessens the impact of that contract. And then, of course, we get Greg Mckech back. He went to Boston last year, but now he's back with the Rangers. We got Ryan Reeves from Vegas for a 2022 3rd round pick, and then immediately signed him to an extension. Again, great. We're tougher for 2 years. We'll see what happens. He is currently injured, and if he doesn't play in the Washington game, that might mean there's fewer fights that game, but, you know, we'll see what happens. Hopefully he's back. I have him slotted in the 4th line, but obviously if he's injured, probably Gauthier ends up on that 4th line. Nemeth we got in free agency, and he's going to be a great 3rd pairing defenseman with Lundqvist, who is a rookie. Both from Sweden, so they can talk to each other in Swedish. Nemeth can kind of help him own his craft and get used to the NHL. I think that was a great signing. And then Tonordi we also got in free agency, again, just to get tougher, which we'll see if that strategy works out for us. Zibanejad was extended yesterday, I believe. Zibanejad was extended, and a couple other Rangers need to be extended. They're in their final years of a contract. Zibanejad was one of the bigger ones, and we figured they were holding off on extending him because they were trying to get Jack Eichel. And when you're trying to get a player like Jack Eichel, you need the space to do so. Zibanejad just got $8.5 million for 8 years. Now, 8 years is a long time. But it's Zibanejad, and it's 8.5. It's not something like $10 million that probably Adam Fox is going to ask for. Maybe he'll take a hometown discount, I should say. $8.5 million for 8 years. You don't sign a player like that if you're still trying to get Jack Eichel. So I assume the Rangers are done trying to get Eichel. Unless a miracle happens, I really don't see Jack Eichel being a Ranger, which some people will be disappointed in. Some people won't. Some people don't like his attitude and maybe some other things about him. It doesn't change the fact that he's one of the best centers in the game. Healthy Jack Eichel is one of the best centers in the game. I wouldn't mind having him on the Rangers because the Rangers don't know what they're going to do as a long-term solution if it's not Strome. And Strome's been a pretty good player for this team for the past, 3 years that he's been with us. But again, some people don't think he's the long-term solution. So if you had Eichel and then Zibanejad as your second-line center, that's a pretty good top 6. But I don't see Eichel working now that we signed Zibanejad. I'm happy he's here. I love Zibanejad. And which leads me to my next section. Are we going to get a captain this year? It's been since 2018 that we've been without a captain since Ryan McDonough left. Is Gerard Gallant going to name a captain? Who knows? There's a couple names. You know, Zibanejad could be a great captain. He's here for the next 8 years, and he loves it here. And he's a great player, and the team looks up to him. He's probably a great presence in the locker room. I could see Trouba being a captain. Kreider, I wouldn't be surprised if Kreider was the captain. And honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised if Fox became the captain. There are 4 or 5 very good options for captain on this team, and we could see that happen this year. Just a quick look at the October schedule. Just down here, I wanted to put at least the first month on the board just so we could just get a quick overview of the first part of the season. So they start this coming Wednesday, the 13th, at Washington. That's going to be a bloodbath. I am expecting puck drop, line brawl. That's what I'm expecting. That's what's been in the water supply for a while. Considering what happened at the end of last season, I think Tom Wilson is going to be in several fights at the first game of the season. And, deservedly so. I think he was underpunished at the end of last season, as I think most of the NHL, I think everybody except Caps fans were not happy with the punishment that was doled out to him, considering he tried to kill Artemi Panarin. He's going to get his comeuppance. If they slot Tenorti into the fourth line for that first game, I'm not going to be surprised. They say, hey, when you're on the ice, go fight Tom. And if Reeves is healthy and he's in the lineup, hey, when you're on the ice, go fight Tom. So it's going to be a fun game. I'm looking forward to it. Then Thursday, 14th, they're back home for the home opener against the Dallas Stars. So we'll see how that goes. 2 days later, the 16th, they're at Montreal. Then the 18th at Toronto. 21st at Nashville. 23rd at Ottawa. So after their home opener, they go on a 4-game road trip to pretty much start the season. 25th, they're home against Calgary. 29th, they're home against Columbus. And then 31st, they play their first game in team history at Seattle's arena. So that's going to be fun to watch. The first game that the Rangers play against Seattle. Seattle comes to play in Madison Square Garden at the end of January, and that's actually one of the games that I am going to. Very excited to see Seattle for the first time play in Madison Square Garden. I'm excited for that one. But that is their October schedule. 3 games and 4 nights to start the season. And now that happens 9 more times throughout this season. 10 times this season, the Rangers play 3 games and 4 nights, and one of those is actually 4 games in 6 nights in the middle of December. This schedule is very, very condensed. You're going to probably see more injuries than a normal year. You're going to see a little more sloppy play in the second game of back-to-backs. We might even see more rotation of players into those third and fourth lines from the healthy scratches, just to keep things a little bit more fresh. You never know what's going to happen, because the Rangers do have a little bit of depth outside who's going to make the opening night roster. I think 7th, 8th defenseman is pretty solid. I think, 13, 14, 15th forward, pretty solid. They have guys they can move in and out if a player needs a break for a night or two, because the schedule is brutal. We do have the Olympic break in February. I'm curious to see who from the Rangers chooses to go play in the Olympics, but it's like 2 or 3 weeks in February. Most of February is Olympic break. So it's not going to be exciting on the NHL front, but it will be exciting in the Olympic front if that's something you watch. But that's our October schedule. Now, let's get into what I think is going to be the opening night roster. At this point, when I am making this video, the Rangers still have 2 more players they need to cut by 5 p.m. tonight. Now, I could have waited until tonight to do this video, but I wanted to get this video done. I'm excited to start the season. So we'll see who gets clipped the last 2. But this is who I think is going to make the team, not necessarily on these lines, because obviously people are going to be flipped in and out of lines. But I think this is who's going to be the opening night roster. So top line, Zibanejad, obviously. Maybe it's Lafreniere and Kakko on either side of him. Give those young players a chance to move into that next stage of their playing career. Strome, obviously, the second line center with Panarin. Maybe Kreider's on that second line. Maybe it's Kravtsov on that second line. Maybe it's Gaudreau. Who knows? But that second line, definitely Panarin, Strome, and then who knows on that right wing. Then we have Hedl with, Gaudreau, Kravtsov, Kreider, some combination of forwards on that third line with Hedl in the center. And then Rooney on that bottom line with Sammy Blais and Ryan Reeves, assuming Reeves is healthy for opening night. If he's not healthy, they're probably going to throw Gauthier in there because he's actually been playing pretty well in the preseason. And then defense pairings, Lindgren Fox, obviously, Miller Trouba, top two pairs for defense of the Rangers is pretty solid. Unless somebody gets injured, that's the top two defense pairs the whole season. Bottom pair, Nemeth and Lundqvist. Hopefully Nemeth can help Lundqvist kind of move his game into the NHL a little bit, get used to the ice surface and all of the pace of the game and all that. Then obviously Shesterkin and then Georgiev behind him. Am I going to be surprised if Georgiev gets traded at the deadline? It depends on if the Rangers are in the playoff race. Because if the Rangers think they're going to make the playoffs, they're going to want a solid backup goalie in case something happens. I don't think the Rangers will feel as confident if they go into the playoffs with Shesterkin and Kincaid. Now, Kincaid played really well for the Rangers last year, but he's going to start in Hartford this year. And Kincaid in the playoffs, would they rather have Georgiev? I don't know. Georgiev didn't really play that well in the preseason, so who knows? Maybe they do move him at the trade deadline to try and get something for the top six. It's really up in the air. Who knows? And then things we would like to see happen, questions we have just for this season. I would love to see Lafreniere, Kakko, and Miller take the next step in their career. Now, Lafreniere, 12 goals, 9 assists, 21 points, -7 for his plus-minus last season. Not the greatest rookie campaign you would expect from a number 1 overall pick. So hopefully maybe he gets into the 20 goals this season. Depends who he plays with. Depends on how he did over the summer with personal training. How, he looked fine in preseason. Hopefully he takes that next step. Kakko last season, 9 goals, 8 assists, 17 points, but a +3. Kakko's defensive play really went up last year. I was really happy to see that. Now, if he can get his offensive acumen to match the progress he made as a defensive player, I think he's going to be a very, very dangerous player on the ice for the Rangers. And then Keandre Miller. He's an NHL defenseman. He's ready. Like, the league saw that he was ready last year. If he is the same exact player last year, I don't think anybody is upset. But we would like to see him take that next step, maybe score a couple more goals, couple more assists, just kind of be that nice compliment to Trouba. Kravtsov, I'm curious to see how he fares, because if he does really well this season and he becomes a staple of this team, then that's one question that we can answer, because that's been a question the last season or two. Is Kravtsov going to be a member of this team, or can we use him to get other pieces? And this season, we're going to find out. Kreider and Hedl both need to stay healthy. Now, Kreider obviously is the streakiest player on the Rangers. He will go 20 games where he scores a goal a game. Then he'll go 20 games where he has 2 assists. We need Kreider to stay healthy, and if he cannot be streaky, that would be great, but I think I'm asking too much there. And then Hedl. He was doing great start of last season, and then I think he broke his wrist or his hand, or he sustained an injury. We need him to stay healthy because he's our third-line center. And after that, you're going to ask Gaudreau to be the third-line center, which isn't the worst thing in the world. But again, he's not really an offensive forward. He's a defensive forward. So if we lose Hedl, that's a big part of the offense that goes missing. So that they need to stay healthy. Shesterkin, Zibanejad, and Fox, we need them to stay as good as they were at the end of the season. Fox winning the Norris Trophy, it's hard to say, hey, do that again. I don't know how many times players have won the Norris back-to-back, but I'm sure it's not that often. So we need Fox to keep playing the way he is. He looked great in preseason, had a couple really nice assists. Zibanejad looked great at the end of the season. He was struggling with COVID at the beginning of last year, so obviously that won't happen again this year. Hopefully he's at about where he was at the end of last season. And of course, Shesterkin needs to be the glue that keeps the goals out of the net. And if Shesterkin lets up 4 goals, I don't think it's asking that much of this team as it's constructed to score 5 goals to win a game. I don't think that's asking too much. I think this team is more than capable of scoring 5 goals in a game if Shesterkin has a bad night. So, we'll see what happens. Is Strome going to be the second-line center? the entirety of the year. I think he will be. Maybe they move him at the deadline if something happens, but who knows. And then, of course, is Gallant's system going to take hold right out of the gate? Because the Rangers were struggling in Quinn's system the past couple years. Seems like Gallant's system players are liking it more. Is that going to take charge right from game one? And are we going to see a successful season? My prediction, I think the Rangers could finish as high as 4th. Because we're back to the Metropolitan Division. And I don't think the Rangers are going to be better than Carolina this season. I don't think the Rangers are going to be better than the Islanders this season. And I don't think the Rangers are going to be better than the Capitals this season. Are the Rangers going to be better than the Penguins? Are Crosby and Malkin healthy? Because, I don't know, the Penguins, you could injure every single one of their teams and they could bring the Wilkes-Barre Penguins up and somehow they're still going to make the playoffs. They're just that kind of team and they have been for years. Can the Rangers be better than the Caps? With this team and all of these things going right, maybe. Will they be better than the Flyers? As long as Alain Vigneault is their coach? Probably. Are they going to be better than the Devils and the Blue Jackets? Probably. Although the Devils in the preseason looked pretty good. And they have Dougie Hamilton on their blue line now. So the Devils could be a force too. The Rangers could finish 7th if things go wrong and other teams do really well. But they could also be 4th. Maybe they're 3rd. Who knows? It's all up in the air. And hockey's like that. At this point, they have to make the playoffs this year. If they don't make the playoffs this year, the fan base is really just going to be very confused and angry. And it's not going to reflect well on Chris Drury. Because we've already questioned some of the moves that he's made. And if this team doesn't make the playoffs and we're still questioning those moves, he's not going to look that good. But, again, we'll see what happens. We need playoffs. This team is ready. This team is ready for the playoffs, and that's the goal, is playoffs. But we'll see what happens. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more videos like it, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you Wednesday for the season opener in the next rundown.